Looks like we are live. Are we?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Let me check the sound. Live. Are we?
Hmm.
Yeah. Let me see. Check the sound. Also check, hear your sound. Are we?
Hello.
Yeah. Let me see. Check
Hello.
the sound. Also check, hear your sound. Are we?
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. So I think everything is fine. So the problem that we are trying to solve today, it's this compare the triplets.
Hmm.
So just to recap, so the last exercise was to teach the concept of an array. And this
Mhm.
problem will continue using arrays, but will introduce something that is very important in programming, which is to compare, allow you to compare values. So this is a fundamental concept in programming to compare, for example, if a value is equal to another value, or if one is less than another one or lower than another one. So this is what we will practice today.
Hmm.
So the problem statement states Alice and Bob each created one problem for HackerRank. A reviewer rates the two challenges, awarding points on a scale from 1 to 100 to three categories: problem clarity, originality, and difficulty. So the rating for Alice's challenge is the triplet A equals A0, A1, A2. So this is the first thing that is important to understand, that in programming, usually everything
Hmm.
starts counting from zero. So all arrays, the first
Hmm.
position is position zero. So this is
Okay.
very important in most programming languages. There might be exceptions. I think Pascal was starting on one. I'm actually not sure. I haven't used it for a long, long time. But in most programming languages, arrays are indexed starting from zero. So continuing, and the rating for Bob's challenge is the triplet B equals B0, B1, B2. The task is to find their comparison points by comparing A0 with B0, A1 with B1, and A2 with B2. And if AI is greater than BI, then Alice is awarded 1 point. If AI is less than BI, then Bob is awarded 1 point. And if AI is equal to BI, then neither person receives a point. So comparison points is the total points a person earned. Given A and B, determine their respective comparison points. For example, if A equals 1, 2, 3, and once again, just to remind you that this is the notation for an array. In most languages, when you use these square brackets, is the notation for an array. So position
Yes.
0 has number 1, position 1 has number 2, position 2 has number 3. And B equals 3 to 1. For elements 0, Bob is awarded a point because I think this is not complete, but basically because 3 is bigger than 1. So it says here, if BI is greater than AI, then Bob is awarded 1 point. So we compare 1 with 3. 3 is bigger, so he gets 1 point.
Mhm.
And for
Mhm.
the equal elements in A1 and B1, because it's both 2, no points are earned. And finally, for elements 2, so A2 is greater than B2, so Alice receives 1 point because 3 is bigger than 1. The return array is 1, comma 1. So the first position, position 0, will have Alice's score, and then position 1 will have Bob's score. So continuing, scrolling down, the function description. So for someone beginning programming, this might feel very overwhelming because it's a lot of text. But if you really analyze what is
No,
asked,
I
it's
understand
actually
everything. It's
okay.
easy. It's easy.
Perfect, perfect. So the function description. So we have the function here on the right. This fun compare triplets. Actually, I'm using Kotlin here, but we will soon change to Python because my friend on the call here, he actually wants to learn Python. And because the idea of all these lessons is to eventually go to the Android world, and Android is usually programmed in Kotlin, not Python. So we have enough time to talk about both. So function description, complete the function compare triplets in the editor below. Compare triplets has the following parameters: int a3, so it's an array of 3 positions, with Alice's challenge rating, and the same for Bob. And we return an integer, an array with 2 positions. The first one, position 0 with Alice, so Alice score in the first position, Bob's score in the second. The input format, we don't need to care so much because everything is done automatically for us here on the right. So the reading the input is already done for us. But anyway, the first line contains 3 space-separated integers, a0, a1, a2, and the respective values in the triplet A. So this, we don't need to care so much about this because it's already written for us. We just need to program the function. So here is another explanation, but we already understood the problem. So now, do you know how to program this? Do you know what I should type in order to complete this problem?
Are you asking me?
Yes. So what kind of
No.
things do you think I need to do here?
Okay, let me see the code. Okay. Complete the compare triplets function below. The function is expected to return an integer array.
I will switch to Python first.
Okay.
Maybe it will
Yes,
be
this
easier
is
for you.
I'm reading on Python.
Yes. Okay. So if you also have it there on Python, I will also have it on Python here. So basically, def is to define a function. Def compare triplets, and then A and B. A and B are both lists or arrays, whatever you want to call it, but in Python they are usually called lists. So the first thing that we have to do is what?
Define A and B.
A and B are already defined for you.
Really?
Yes, so that's why they give you here A and B. So what do you have
we
to
need
do
to,
with
to
this
open
A and B?
we need to open three spots. The A0, A1, and A2, B0, B1, and B2, right?
Yes, so this is what you already have. So in Python, if you write something like this, if you write A0, this will already have the value inside. So assuming that this would be the input, for example, 5, 6, 7, A0 would have the value 5, A1 would have the value 6, and A2 would have the value 7. Right? So you need to iterate over these arrays. And this is what you need to do. So as you see here from the beginning, if AI is greater than BI, then Alice is awarded 1 point. But where are you going to store these points?
Wait. A0, okay, A0. But this is, you need to make some because we're giving some input. No,
the input is already given. So here below, the program is executed. It will read the file. It will read everything, and then it calls your function already with everything clean for you. So this is how this HackerRank usually works. So all the reading of the input is done automatically for you.
We need to do we don't need to do an array or something?
Yes. With how many positions?
3.
Why 3?
Because it's the 0, 1, the 1 and 2, right? Oh, this is what they say on
these are the ones that they give you. So both are lists of 3 positions.
I know, 100.
But what you want to return, that says here, the return is an array of 2 positions.
No, sorry. It's 3. Wait. Well, it's 3. It's 3 positions. It's the position 0, position 1, and position 2, right?
So that's the input. So the input has A has 3 positions, B has 3 positions. But what we need to return, so when we type return, what we need to return is something in this form: 0, 0, or whatever points we have here. So we need to create a new value. So we need to create the points. For example,
like for the result, a point for the
Yes,
result.
exactly.
Okay.
So here we would do something like this: 0, 0, and then we return the points. See?
Mm-hmm.
So here you create points equals an array that has 0 on position 1 or position 0 because that's the first position, and another 0. Because that's how you start counting, right? They start with 0 points, and then depending on
Yes.
the points that they have, then you will change these points, right? Here in this list, right? So how do I iterate over 0, 1, and 2? Because that's the question here.
You need to compare. You need to compare the two.
Yes, that's another problem.
Okay, it's another problem. Okay.
So when you have this kind of question, so when you are learning by yourself, what you can do, of course, you can use ChatGPT to learn how to iterate over a list, or you can search Google or your favorite search engine.
Now I like it. Now
Yes,
I like
because
it.
when you are programming, a lot of times you will not know how to do something, right? So if we use ChatGPT, actually, I could open ChatGPT here. That would be maybe interesting also for the people at home watching the stream. I don't know if I have. Let me check here. So this would be interesting. Let's log in.
I don't
I
see.
actually have ChatGPT here.
But we don't see it on the camera.
Okay. Then let me do this. And we can put ChatGPT here. And then I can switch here in OBS to show this. So I'll reduce the size. Is this size okay? Yeah, I think so. How to
Yes.
iterate, for example, how to iterate over lists in Python. Something like this. Let's try ChatGPT. It's also nice for this kind of live coding. So he's showing us multiple ways of iterating over lists. So he showed one way where we really iterate. So this is basically what we did last time for item in my list, where for each successive iteration, item will contain the number there. But in our case, what we want is to iterate over the indices 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? And this is the second option that he tells us here. So you can also use a range-based for loop to iterate over the indices of the list. All right? So for I in range of length of the list. So len is a function in Python that returns the size of the list. In our case, it will return 3. And range goes from 0 to whatever number we put here, minus 1. So it's from 0 until that number. So if we go back to our code of comparing the triplets, so I will move this away. I need to find a better setup for next time so that I can alternate quickly between ChatGPT. So here what we want is for I in range of len of A. And it doesn't matter A or B, right? Because they have the same size. So both of them have 3. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Okay, so len of A will return 3 because there are 3 elements inside. And range of this will return a list of 0, 1, 2. And then
0, 1, 2, yes.
And then we can do this. If AI and then we just use whatever they gave us, right? So here, if AI bigger
Yes,
than
bigger
BI,
than.
right? Oops.
Yes.
Then what happens?
If AI bigger than BI, A receives a point. So
Exactly.
points.
Points, yes?
The points there, points equal start at 0, 0, but then it become 0 plus 1.
Exactly. 0 plus equals. So this would be plus equals 1. So it increments the value that is there. And in Python, I think it's like this, elif, and then we use whatever they give us next, and they say
If
AI less than BI, right? And
less than
what happens in this situation?
it's 0 minus 1 point.
No, in this case,
No.
Bob gets a point.
Wins. Yeah, but yeah. Point. Yes, but how can we now say that's the points for Bob?
Yeah, points for
Maybe.
Bob. So if points for Alice is 0.0, points for Bob is what?
0.1.
Of course. Plus equals 1. Right? And then, if they are both equal, then they don't get points. So of course, you don't need to write
Say
anything,
nothing.
right? But
Anything, yes.
of course, you could write if AI
Equals BI.
equals BI, and of course that has to be true, right? Because if it's not one, it's the other. But you could say something like this, right? So just for the sake of completeness, you could say basically they don't get a point, right? So it doesn't even make sense to write it. And that's it, right? So it's quite simple. So you start with 0, 0, you loop through the array, and then you just do the operations that they say. So if Alice has more points, Alice gets a point. If Bob has a point, then he earns a point, and then we return the points, right? So even though I don't know Python, I understand what is supposed to do, because I mean my knowledge of Python is totally forgotten. But of course, we can always Google, we can ask ChatGPT, and this is what you should also use. You can use ChatGPT to get the answers for your problems. And then we click just to run code, and then we check if everything is fine, and it's fine. And we can submit the code. It will run against more cases. And let's see.
Congratulations, yes, is correct.
And for you as well, right?
Yes.
See, very simple. So this was the solution in Python. And of course, we could do the same in Kotlin, but just the syntax is just slightly different, right? So this is the important thing about when you are programming. It doesn't matter so much the language that you are using, because what matters is the logic that you need to understand here. So you first need to understand it. You need to initialize an array or a list or whatever it's called in any programming language that you are using. And it has to have space for two elements. So one will hold the points for Alice, another one will hold the points for Bob. And then you just need to know how, in your programming language, how do you iterate over the arrays. In this case, in Python, we saw in ChatGPT that there are two ways to iterate. So you can either iterate over the elements or you can iterate over the indices. And that's actually what we need, because we want to use this I, because this I will be 0, 1, and 2 for each iteration. And then we just do the algorithm that they want us to do, that compares the points. Basically, that's it. So nothing too complicated.
But this is more complicated than the other.
Of course, and this is the idea, right? Everything builds on top of each other. So the first program was very basic, was just to return a plus b in a function, just for you to have an understanding that what's the concept of this function and having these plus expressions. And then the next step was to know what is an array or a list in the case of Python. It's kind of the same for your level of understanding. It's the same. It's a sequence of values. And here it builds a little bit on top, right? So it's not just iterating and summing all the values. You actually have some logic. So if this, then that. If this, then that. So
I see.
everything will slowly build on top of each other, and all these building blocks together will make
Okay.
you a better programmer. And that's it.
Can you do something very fast? If you
Yeah,
were gonna
I was going to finish the
change
stream
to
now, but
Kotlin,
yes.
okay, you were going to change to Kotlin, right? Python 3 to Kotlin there. But if you change, the code will disappear, right? This code will you built for Python will disappear.
No, actually not. So if I
No?
switch to C++, of course it changes to C++, but if I change back to Python, I think it brings back, it brings back my code.
Yes. Okay. But now the idea is go back to the Python 3, and um, just copy this. I want to know this. Copy the code we did. Copy this code we did, and on ChatGPT, can you ask him to make this code for, if you can do it, for Kotlin?
Ah, interesting. Okay.
I want this piece of code. I want it to make sense in Kotlin.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Let's try ChatGPT. That's quite an interesting challenge for ChatGPT. Let's try. Let me see if I can put the browser here. So how can I switch this?
It was good. It was good, but now it's all black.
Yeah, I don't know why. Ah, now I know why. Sorry. Because I had a different tab.
Okay.
I don't know why this is not working. Let me try to do this again. And I will
just
do this.
open a new tab.
Yeah, because of OBS. I'm using OBS and I'm not sharing the screen. I'm only sharing the tab. So that is the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and now I need to understand how I can get this again.
Or just open
okay. It's working now. Okay. So I have this piece of code in Python. Can you convert it to Kotlin? Okay.
Of course, it says.
See, and then it even explains what you want. So, and what now we can do is actually copy this and see if this would pass.
Okay.
If this would pass the.
This is exactly what I want to see.
Yes. So let's see if this would actually pass. If we change here to Kotlin, if this would actually pass the result. So if I paste here, so these are actually arrays. I don't know if this. This I would have to adjust this because the outputs. So what they want is arrays, and ChatGPT used with the lists. So I will actually change back to ChatGPT.
Can you do it with the?
Yeah, with arrays instead of
lists.
Yeah, I don't know why this doesn't work. This OBS, sometimes I don't understand why it doesn't work.
You have to use the stream OBS.
Okay, this works, but then. Okay, let me see. Can you do it with arrays instead of lists? Okay, perfect. Unfortunately, I cannot show it on the screen, but I will just copy paste what ChatGPT gave me. I will paste here. And now let's try to run the code and see if it actually passes.
Okay.
And it passes.
Okay. It passes? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I was expecting it to pass.
And this is that is why it's really beneficial that you actually use ChatGPT to learn, right? It's very interesting for you because then you can try to solve the problem yourself.
Yes.
And if you have problems, you can use the help of ChatGPT to give you a solution or at least try to somehow explain what is the problem, and then you learn much faster. And then, of course, if you have problems, then you can always ask me in the next session. But that's the idea, that you practice also
Okay.
with ChatGPT.
Okay, my friend.
And that's it for today. Thank you very much for everyone that's watched the stream, and we see you next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. What is this? Oh,
That you're learning.
this is AI. AI. Look, this is made by AI.